In this morning's Health Watch, should parents serve alcohol to their underage kids? Teen drinking is a hot topic right now with spring break ending and prom season about to start. Nearly 200,000 underage drinkers end up in the ER every year, and that's leading some parents to begin alcohol education right at home. Early Show contributor Taryn Winter Brill has this report.
When Laura Zinn talks about her teenage son, she sounds like any worried parent.
I don't know what goes on in school. I have no idea. I only know what he tells me.
Mom.
But her behavior is far from typical when it comes to letting 15-year-old Matt try alcohol.
I'll have a glass of wine, and if he looks at me and he wants to try it, I'll say okay.
Laura and parents like her are trying to teach their kids how to drink responsibly by allowing them to occasionally consume alcohol at home.
I don't want to be so strict that they're running in the opposite direction and being as rebellious as they can.
Underage drinking is widespread, and parental guidance is not always included. By age 21, 86% of kids will have used alcohol. Some start at alarmingly young ages, with nearly 6% of 12 to 14-year-olds admitting to drinking alcohol in the past month. That's roughly 700,000 middle schoolers.
We know what happens when kids get into trouble when they drink alcohol regularly. They can have car accidents, they can get into risky sexual situations, they can get into physical fights.
Laura says she's not encouraging her son to drink. She's just trying to remove alcohol's allure.
I'm certainly not pouring him a glass of wine and saying salute. I really do believe that you should expose your kids to things that are going to be something they're going to experiment with.
In Matt's case, Laura's technique may have worked.
The fact that I wouldn't say I've experienced with alcohol or wine, but I've drunk it before. I've sort of experienced the little mini feeling of getting a little bit buzzed, sort of, and yeah, I think it does help.
We visited a high school PTA meeting in New York to see what other parents thought about letting their teenagers drink at home.
I don't think it's right.
They're just going to have to wait until they're of age.
I specifically remember once in a party environment, she wanted to try some wine.
And what did you say?
I said, absolutely not.
No.
But one mom was more flexible.
I just do it because I think it's good for them to be exposed to it so that that curiosity of what it is hopefully is a little bit deflected.
This approach is frowned upon by many community leaders who would prefer parents take a tougher approach to underage drinking.
Yes, we all know that kids are doing this because that's what kids do, but it's our job as adults not to make it easy for them. What we need are more parents willing to be parents to their children and not their children's friend.
Reading here?
The dangers of underage drinking are not lost on Laura. She hopes that an open dialogue with her son may help remove some of the risks.
I feel like if we talk about something, maybe he'll have like a little more knowledge, a little more insight. Maybe instead of doing 10 shots, he'll do 1.
And joining us with more on the pros and cons of drinking with teens is psychologist and Early Show contributor Dr. Jennifer Harstein. Doc, good to see you.
Good morning.
We saw in the report there a second ago, we don't want to make it easy on kids to get alcohol, but I think we all know that they're probably going to get their hands on it in some way, shape, or form.
Right, well, if we look at that 12 to 14-year-old statistic, right, they are getting their hands on it.
Do you think, though, it is a smart move? I mean, in 31 states, parents can legally serve alcohol to minors. Do you think it is a good idea for adults to
do that?
Gently kind of get them.
There are pros and cons to it. There is the element of demystifying what alcohol is if you're serving it in your home. Yeah. At the same time, you have to be willing to model the appropriate behavior. And so are you giving a mixed message to your kid if you're doing that?
Yeah, what are some of the risks, though, of underage drinking that we've seen?
Right, well, basic risks. It can create problems with cognitive functioning, planning. It can increase their impulsivity. As we heard in the piece, it can really create problems for accidents, sexual promiscuity, really regret, and a lot of depression and anxiety in these kids. We have to be really mindful of that.
Yeah, kind of what I got alluded to earlier is the kind of no tolerance policy. Very, I mean, it's just very tough to administer with teens.
Absolutely.
So if you don't want your kids to drink, how do you enforce that?
You really want to be an authoritative parent, meaning you want to have an open dialogue. You want to have that give and take. You want to have the back and forth and talk to them about, well, you're going to be in these situations. How are you going to handle it? What are you going to do? If you tried it in my house, we can talk about it some more. I'm going to be involved in that. And that's really important for kids to be able to come to their parents and talk to about these things.
Besides the talking, though, are there any other things that can be done?
Yes, you want to model appropriate behavior. If your kids see you coming home every night and having a drink so that you get rid of the stressful day, you're almost teaching them that when you feel stressed, you can drink. And what they have shown is kids that start before 15 and drink for stress are going to have a problem with alcohol potentially later.
What do parents really need to keep in mind, though, with underage drinking, with it being so prevalent across the country.
They really want to make sure that their kids know that safety is first. And if your kids are going to drink, and we know that a lot of them are going to, unfortunately, you want to make sure that they know that even if they're drunk, you'd rather they be drunk and alive and home than drunk and dead because they get behind the wheel.
And that's the other thing, too, with some of these parents that condone drinking in their homes, thinking it's going to be safe for kids. You know what? God forbid one of those kids does decide to grab his car keys and go to the corner store or something like that. That's on the parent.
Absolutely, it's on the parent. And the fact is that parties that are unsupervised with drinking show that the kids have greater risk for drinking problems later.
All right, Dr. Jennifer Harstein, thank you. Good to see you.
Thanks so much.